All right, we've got Trump greenlighting UFO disclosure here in the form of letting U.S. Congressman Eric Burleson of Missouri go to Area 51 and to scope out what's going on there, to see if there's any wrecked ships or alien bodies. And this just jumps out at me like they're potentially setting up some kind of something here with this. We all know Area 51 has been a secret base that officially didn't exist forever, but now all of a sudden it does. And Janet flights going in and out are being tracked in an uptick. And this congressman on video saying that he's been given the go by Trump to go in and to see what's inside of Area 51. And I would say we'll take some cameras to Fort Knox too and see if the gold's there. But he's saying this is part of disclosure. The Trump administration is saying that by July of 2026, which is this year, Trump is going to be dropping full-blown disclosure. Now, if you've been paying attention to this, they've been working on something for the whole past year. You've had Greer and his whole team come out and they dropped a documentary, The Age of Disclosure. Then you're supposed to have this other big full-scale movie dropping on disclosure. It's sometime like this year. Okay? And then you have everyone that went in front of Congress, Gorish and everyone else, and it's on video. They've told our entire Congress that we're not alone. These black site places have bodies, they have craft, we have it all. And they showed footage. For the first time, they showed the world them shooting a UFO down. You would think it would be the most viral, replayed video clip ever seen. But it just bounced right off the people's heads like it was a ball, and it did not stick.
Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and you just heard Dabu77 speaking on disclosure. And I'm even playing this because I've been hearing more and more about disclosure. There's that, as he was going through that documentary that was released earlier in the year, about a week ago or so, I was hearing more about this, what he's talking about Emperor Nero being briefed on quote-unquote aliens. I say quote-unquote aliens because those aren't aliens. Those are the chariots of Yahweh Bashem Shai, the chariots of Israel, which let's get that right away. Because he's even talking about, or Dabu was talking about them shooting down a chariot, but they can't. These are spiritual vehicles. This is Psalms 104 and verse 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angel spirits his ministers of flaming fire. These so-called UFOs and these so-called UAPs are really just the chariots of Israel, the chariots of Yahweh Bashem Shai, and it's the angels up there for the most part. And it's on both the left hand and on the right hand. Where is that? Trying to find that chariot of Israel. Salakia. Let's go here. Second Kings. Yeah. 2 Kings 2 and 12. And Elisha saw it. Actually, 2 Kings 2 and 11. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Elijah got taken up by a tractor beam from what the world would call a spaceship, but these are the chariots of Israel. Verse 12, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. That's the chariot. Going back to Psalms 104 and 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. You see that Yahweh Shai, it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see. He's going to come back on these chariots, what the world calls UAPs, UFOs, and spaceships. It says, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Just to get that straight, what he was talking about, what Dabu was saying, got shot down. No, it didn't. Spiritual beings can't be shot down. It's not in this carnal, it doesn't operate within this carnal reality. So that's not going to happen. But these people have been pushing this narrative more and more for disclosure, and even to where we're seeing this from talks from the former president. So End Time Headlines says, Obama says aliens are real. And I'm going to sit here and tell you aliens are not real, unless you're talking about the angels, in which they do come from. They're not of this plane. So yeah, you could call them aliens, but really these are the angels. These are the angels. This whole thing about aliens from Mars and from Andromeda and wherever else you think they're from, that's all just Esau gaslighting you and Esau giving you lies. And this is blasphemy, calling the angels aliens with little green men from outer space. No, that's all a lie. And with this lie, they want to push a fake invasion on this earth. It says Obama says aliens are real, but hasn't seen them in a recent podcast interview. So I've been seeing this go out. We're seeing the Nero stuff go out for a while. Seeing the disclosure stuff. Seeing even the what happened in El Paso last week, where they're saying it was a drone they had to shoot down, and then you see other footage showing one of the Lord's chariots, and you see these different things. Even that could be all setting up for this fake invasion, because we don't know if that really was one of the Lord's chariots, or if it was one of Esau's chariots that he puts out here with his technology. And it's not about this article. We're not going to go into this. It's about Satan's devices. And we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, in which one of those devices we believe is a fake invasion, a fake alien invasion. 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Satan is an angel of the Most High on the left-hand side, and Satan has people, which are the biblical Edomites, who are currently in power and influence over this world. And those biblical Edomites equate to the so-called Caucasians or white race, and this includes the tiny tops. They call themselves the Lord's people. They're just all Edomites. They're the children of Satan. Not every single one of them that you would call white or Caucasian or a tiny top actually goes back to that lineage via their father's bloodline, but for the most part, those are the Edomites. Yes, some of them could be Israelites, some of them could be of another nation. For the most part, those are Edomites, the wicked Satan's people. And Satan's people has devices that they want to fool the world with. One of those devices being a fake alien invasion. And so I typed in fake UFO invasion, Werner von Braun. And if you know about Werner von Braun, he is one of those national socialists that was taken by the U.S. during Operation Paperclip, where we purged the intelligence agencies of the National Socialists after World War II. And he got set up as the head of NASA. But this is allegedly a quote from him, which we're going to read about right here. It says, Werner von Braun is alleged to have warned his assistant, Dr. Carol Rosen, in the final years of his life, 1974 to 77, that a staged alien invasion, part of a broader deception strategy, would be the final card used to justify global militarization and the creation of a new world order. So that's allegedly one of their final cards before they push their NWO. And we see that they're trying to push their NWO. They're getting their cards all lined up right for the MOTB system to come online, and they're going to have a big deception to actually push people to putting micro C-hips into their body, to actually inserting that into their body, and possibly they're going to do a fake UFO invasion, and that'll make the whole world one. That'll make everybody under the same flag. Even George Bush Sr., I believe it was George Bush Sr., was talking about how everybody, or was it Reagan? Slocky for not remembering which devil, but one of them said that if we're all fighting against each other and an alien invasion occurred, that we'd all band together under one flag to fight the enemy. And that is what would happen. You see it in movies, you see it in Independence Day and other movies where all of humanity joins together. And this would be an easy way for them to push a new world order. And they have the means to do this with Project Blue Book. They were even talking about, back in the 70s, I saw this on the Brother Yawasop's page from GMS Badlands. But he was, on his page, he was showing a video talking about how they were going to plan a fake invasion of Cuba, or when they were talking about invading Cuba, how they were going to use Project Bluebeam to cast an image of Jesus the Christ, quote unquote Jesus, white Jesus, into the sky, and knowing how Catholic Manasseh is and how much he's forgotten, that it would have fooled them into pushing a coup onto Castro back then. This is something that they can do. They have Project Bluebeam and probably even crazier technology that we don't even know about. They have these drones that can look real. And yeah, this is something that they want to do because they're counterfeits of Yahweh B'Shem Awashai. Everything he does, they want to counterfeit. But keep reading this. It says, according to Rosen, von Braun outlined a sequence of fabricated threats. Actually, I want to get a scripture first, because if I could spell deceive. Yeah, Matthew 24 and 24. For there shall arise false anointeds and false prophets, and show great signs and wonders. If they were to fake an invasion, that would be a great sign and wonder. It says, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But it's not possible. So the Lord has given that eye salve out. But they're going to definitely try to deceive the very elect. But it's not going to work because just jumping on down to 29, because the elect know the sequence of events that would happen before Yahweh Shai came. And part of that is the whole tribulation would have to happen. The MOTB would be first pushed for that to happen, because we know the MOTB is going to come out, World War III is going to really get going, and then the nukes will fly, and then Yahweh Shai will return. We know that tribulation has to happen first, but these Christians are all hoping and praying that they get picked up before the plagues start. But we know, jumping down to Matthew 24 and 29, it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. We've got to get through the tribulation. It says, he that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. So if we're seeing a fake invasion coming soon in June, before they've even put out a MOTB, then we know that is completely wrong. That it's just a counterfeit for these Edomites. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. That goes into the elite. You're in great fear. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. It's the return of Yahweh Shai. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. And remember, showed maketh the clouds his chariot. These are UFOs. The actual invasion that is coming, with Yahweh Shai bringing his chariots and taking this earth. But the devil, being a counterfeit that he is going to try to push the same thing. He's going to call it an alien invasion. But Yahweh Shai is coming to do the real thing, coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, and he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. But these devils, being the devil, keep saying
contributions so you can make the most of your money. Sign up today for 30 days free, then $5 a month.
Imitated, against, to make, to do, to assume, in which we know these devils, the Edomites, so-called white people, including the tiny tops, have assumed our identity, in which they go around telling the world that they are the Lord's chosen people. That is, they're counterfeits. They've assumed our identity. They tell the world that they are the Christians. These are counterfeits. They have assumed our identity, and you can tell it's a copy. It's not actually right. They say the laws are done away with, and for the ones that are calling themselves the Lord's people, there would be no more war. And they use a whole nother book. They just put on the likeness. Their issues. This is to assume, to simulate, to make it.
Why choose between getting things done and doing things with the ones you love? With Kroger same-day pickup and delivery, you can shop the same great prices you'd find in store, and we bring the groceries right to you, so you can catch more family time. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Seeing thou can't do right. Actually, it's lucky, just butchering that. Gotta get that one too. Psalms 50. 16. But unto the wicked the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee? But they feel like they have the right to be counterfeits. They can't do it right. This is to make a copy, to imitate without authority or right. You ain't got no right to do this, especially with a view to deceive or defraud, and that's what they are doing. They're the wicked, and they want their rulership to go. They want everybody to listen to them during their rulership, so they've assumed the identity of the Israelites.
kind of obsessed with birds. And that's not even the best part.
Contrast. These are counterfeits. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians, which I feel like I bring out often nowadays. 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, these Edomites. So the Israelites fell away from their heritage. These counterfeits, the Edomites, they assume their heritage. And here's what they've done. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God, as these counterfeits, sitteth in the temple of God, sitting there being a counterfeit, showing himself that he is God. And this is all that white Jesus that they've put into all the churches, and these white people that they say are the people, when they're just really Amalek. These are really just Edomites, the people that are hated of the Lord. Verse 7, it says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way, waiting for the Lord to cast these people out and down. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, adversary, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness. So they got all this power, all these signs and lying wonders. They're going to try to do a fake invasion. With all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And they're going to deceive a lot of people with this fake invasion. You're going to deceive a lot of people if they do this fake invasion. But if you're seeing from the AI overview, this could actually happen. It says, according to Rosen, von Braun outlined a sequence of fabricated threats. The Russians, who were the Cold War enemy, in which we're seeing that again. That's being stirred back up. And this time, the Lord actually has his hooks in their jaws, and he's controlling those Russians, Gog and Magog. It's this big T word. You're seeing more talk about that. Rogue nations. You're seeing this Venezuela stuff, the Iranian stuff, all the BRIC stuff. These are things they use to keep you in control. Asteroids. And then the final car, aliens. And they're talking more and more about this, to where maybe we actually do see this great deception. It says he reportedly claimed that the justification for building space-based weapons will culminate in a hoax alien invasion. Back then, under Reagan, I believe, there was Star Wars. Or maybe that was under Bush. Confusing these Republicans, but forgive me. But there was the idea of Star Wars, putting these satellite weapons that would shoot down any missile that would come. This is an FF operation, a false French fry operation designed to instill global fear and unify humanity under a centralized authoritarian regime. And so if they brought in something like this, something like a fake invasion, that could do it. And that would be a counterfeit of Yahweh's return, with them putting it all out like it's aliens. Since this idea is often linked to the Project Bluebeam conspiracy theory, which posits that advanced holographic and electromagnetic technologies could simulate a false alien invasion. While Dr. Stephen Greer and others have promoted these claims, no credible evidence supports von Braun's alleged warning. His official legacy remains focused on pioneering space exploration, and there is no verified documentation, written or recorded, from von Braun himself confirming these statements. Thus, while the narrative is widely circulated in UFO and conspiracy circles, it remains unverified and speculative, lacking corroboration from mainstream historical or scientific sources. So, obviously, Esau brings doubt to it, but this is definitely something that they could do, and something we should look out for them to do. Just want to go back to 2 Corinthians, because we aren't ignorant of Satan's devices, and we shouldn't pretend to be. This is something that they could do, and so heed to the signs. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We know we're at the end, and this devil's back is in a corner, and so he's going to pull out all of his Hail Marys that he can. 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. That was just one more of his devices. Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.